I knew something was wrong when my mother-in-law brought a casserole big enough to feed 10 people, for a family of 3. "It's just us," I said, accepting the dish with both hands. The smell was overwhelming, heavy, like obligation wrapped in foil. "Of course, sweetheart." She smiled tightly. "You need your strength." Behind her, my husband, Eli, stood with his arms crossed. He hadn't told me she was coming. He hadn't told me his father and younger sister were in the car either. "You didn't mention this," I said, trying to keep my voice even. Eli shrugged. "They just wanted to drop by, say hi, their family." I looked down at our newborn Lena, swaddled and asleep in my arms. My body still ached from the emergency C-section 10 days ago. The stitches pulled when I walked. My breasts were raw from feeding. I hadn't slept longer than 2 hours in a row. This was not a time for visitors. But I said nothing, because I'd already been labeled the difficult one once before. That night, they stayed for dinner. The next night, they were still there. On the third morning, I woke up to the sound of drawers opening downstairs and Ronald, my father-in-law, asking where the coffee filters were. Tessa, Eli's sister, had taken over the guest room and my nursing chair. I walked into the kitchen in a bathrobe and found Eli sipping coffee like this was normal. Like his family hadn't completely moved in. "We need to talk," I said, voice low. "About what?" he asked, not looking up. And just like that, the thread holding me together started to snap. I wasn't a stranger to being sidelined. For years, Eli's family had treated me like a guest in my own life. At first, I told myself it was harmless. His mom liked control. His dad liked routines. Tessa was just immature. But this was different. They had taken over the house. My house. And Eli didn't seem to notice or care. That morning, Diana rearranged the living room for better energy. My books disappeared. Lena's toys were placed in bins I'd never seen. I found our family photos stacked in a box under the stairs. "They didn't match the new aesthetic," she explained. My chest tightened. That evening, I attempted to nurse Lena in the guest room, the only room with a comfortable chair, and found Tessa watching Netflix with her feet up. "Do you mind?" I asked, trying to keep the tremble out of my voice. She barely glanced at me. "Can't you do that in your room or something? This show has subtitles." I left without a word, went upstairs, locked the door, fed my daughter in silence. Later, I tried again with Eli. "This isn't working," I said. "I can't rest. I can't recover. They need to leave." He stared at me like I'd asked him to evict a shelter dog. "They're helping," he said. "You're being ungrateful." That was it. That one word, ungrateful, something inside me split. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just started planning. There's something that happens when a woman realizes she's alone in a room full of people. You start watching, listening, making quiet notes. Over the next few days, I let them make themselves comfortable. I let Diana critique my parenting. I let Ronald leave wet towels on the floor. I let Tessa complain about the internet speed. And I recorded everything. It wasn't about revenge. It was about evidence. I filmed the moment Diana scolded me for holding Lena too much. I snapped a photo when Ronald left a pile of mail labeled urgent sitting in a puddle on the kitchen floor. I took screenshots of Tessa's texts complaining about how the house is boring and this lady is always sulking. Meanwhile, I reached out to a postpartum counselor, then a social worker, then a lawyer. "You're not crazy," the counselor said during our virtual session. "You're being steamrolled." "This isn't just inconsiderate," the lawyer told me. "It borders on coercive living. You have rights." It was the first time someone had said that out loud. I had rights. That night, Eli came into the bedroom and found me awake. "Why aren't you sleeping?" Because there are 4 grown adults living in our house, none of whom were invited, I said. He rolled his eyes. They just want to help. I looked him dead in the eyes. Then help me pack. He blinked. What? I'm leaving with Lena. You're being dramatic. I stood up, slow but steady. My body still hurt, but not as much as the insult of staying silent any longer. No, I said, my voice firm, I'm done. The next morning, I was gone. I didn't make a scene, I didn't slam doors. I just took what mattered, my daughter, a few essentials, and the sense of self I'd nearly lost. I stayed at my cousin's apartment across town. It was cramped, noisy, and smelled like paint, but it was safe. I texted Eli, told him I was okay, told him Lena was okay, told him I needed time. The responses came quickly. Where did you go? Come back. We can talk. This is ridiculous. And finally, if you're not back by the weekend, I'm involving a lawyer. I forwarded that message to the lawyer I'd already hired. Let him try, she said. The days that followed were hard, but not in the ways I expected. I wasn't curled up crying. I wasn't second-guessing myself. I was rebuilding. Lena slept better in the new place. Maybe it was the quiet. Maybe it was the lack of tension hanging in the walls. My cousin Jordan left me alone when I needed space and brought me soup when I forgot to eat. I kept notes on everything. Every text Eli sent, every call I didn't answer, every voicemail I saved but couldn't yet bring myself to hear. Meanwhile, the lawyer drafted a statement, my terms, my truth. I wasn't fighting for custody. I wasn't asking for money. I just wanted my space, my peace, and a legally recognized boundary. Then one morning, the silence broke. A knock on the apartment door, not frantic, measured, familiar. I opened it to find Eli standing there, looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. Can we talk? He asked. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. He rubbed his hands together like he was trying to warm something that had long gone cold. I didn't know how bad it got. I thought they were helping. I didn't answer. I read the letter, he said quietly. The lawyer's letter. And I agree to it. Everything. You were right. He looked down at his feet. They're gone, by the way. They left yesterday. It should have felt like a victory, but it didn't. It felt like too little, too late. We sat on the curb, side by side, but not touching. The early morning sun painted long shadows on the concrete. Do you love them more than you love us? I asked, not bitter, just tired. Eli shook his head. I thought loving them meant never saying no. I didn't realize that meant saying no to you. Lena stirred inside. I could hear her through the thin wall, that soft, whimpering cry she made before waking up. She needs both of us, he said. She needs a home that feels like hers, I replied, and a mother who isn't drowning. He nodded. I won't ask you to come back right away, he said, but I want to earn the chance to be the kind of partner you thought you married. I didn't promise him anything, just said, we'll see. That was the real beginning. I started therapy the next week. It was the first thing I did for myself in months. We didn't talk about Eli at first. We talked about me, about why I stayed quiet, why I smiled through hurt, why I thought being good meant being small. And slowly, I started taking up space again. Eli sent updates, photos of the house, of the changes he was making. He removed the chair Tessa had claimed and replaced it with the one I loved. He put the photos back up. He asked before doing anything. He was trying, but more importantly, so was I. I stopped saying I'm fine when I wasn't. I said no without apologizing. I took Lena for long walks, even when the dishes weren't done. I laughed again. 3 weeks later, I agreed to meet Eli at the park. He had packed a lunch. Lena gurgled happily in her stroller, kicking her socks off one by one. We sat on a bench, and he reached into the diaper bag, pulled out a little photo frame. Inside was a picture of the three of us at the hospital, the day Lena was born. Me in bed, tired but glowing. Him beside me, holding her like she was the most fragile thing in the world. "This is what I forgot," he said. "This is what I nearly lost." I looked at the photo, then at him. "You still might," I said gently. He nodded. "But I want to be better. I want to listen, not just to you, to Lena too. I want her to grow up knowing her mother's voice matters." That was the moment I believed him. I didn't move back in right away. We did weekends first, then full weeks. We rebuilt. His parents didn't return. When they asked to visit, he told them they'd need to wait and ask me directly. He set boundaries, and this time, he kept them. In the end, it wasn't about a casserole or a chair or even a house full of uninvited guests. It was about something deeper, something quieter. It was about a woman rediscovering the sound of her own voice after being drowned out for too long. What this story teaches is simple, but not easy. You are allowed to draw a line. You are allowed to say enough. Protecting your peace isn't dramatic. Asking for space isn't ungrateful. Wanting to heal, to be heard, to feel safe in your own home, those aren't luxuries. They are rights. And maybe the most important thing, walking away doesn't always mean it's over. Sometimes it's the only way to begin again, this time on your own terms. Because love, real love, doesn't silence you, it listens. And healing starts the moment you do too,